I'm Liam Billingham.
I'm George Fragopoulos.
And this is...
Oeuvre Busters.
Busters. Quick, do your James Gandolfini.
Liam, I don't know what you're talking
Oeuvre
about.
Busters.
Oh, I was going to say, I'll save the real Gandolfini stuff for the Patreon.
Maybe we should do an episode for the Patreon. This week
in
on
character?
Oeuvre Busters, we have... This week on Oeuvre Busters, shut the fuck up, I'm doing a bit. This week on Oeuvre Busters, we have James Gandolfini here to talk about his new film, Killing Them Softly. James, how are you?
Pretty fucking good.
I've actually heard in real life he was like a gentle
I know,
giant.
yeah.
Like
yeah.
really,
He seems like an absolute
really
sweet.
nice
No,
guy.
he's like, every once in a while on Twitter, somebody will tweet out like a picture of him and be like, Monsieur King, or...
Oh, I know. It's all Nick Houston. What you're describing is all Nick
he
Houston's
runs an
tweets.
amazing Twitter account, and it'd be like, I'd be like, oh yeah, I
How
miss him.
online is a podcast when it reference a film Twitter account that like the four people that listen to this are going to be like, oh, yep, good Nick Houston joke.
Great,
really
yeah.
good.
He's not the only one, but yes, I am a fan. I'm a fan.
Oh, it's great. He speaking of film Twitter, should we talk about the movie we're here to talk about?
Sure, of course.
How can I try to explain when I do it turns away?
Are you singing the gondola
again?
song?
It's always been the same old story. No, I thought about Father and Son by Cat Stevens the whole time we were watching this movie. So I just thought I would serenade you.
You're gonna start singing the Cat in the Cradle.
How's that one go? I think Father and Son is a little more. Maybe Cats in the Cradle would be good.
Is it cats or cat? Now that I think about it, that's a very strange image. What the fuck is the cat doing in the cradle?
That's a good question. Why don't we talk about it later?
But Carmela, what the fuck is that cat doing in the cradle? Sorry.
What movie are we?
So Liam,
What movie
we're
are we
discussing.
talking?
We should actually talk about this too. We're discussing 1952s.
1951s.
I'm showing 1952.
Hang on, let me check in with our
With the show Bible?
Akira Kurosawa expert James Gandolfini. It's 1952.
Ikiru.
You're right. To live.
To live. Wait, did you say I was?
Can
you isolate you saying that I was right about the 1952?
Yeah, the film is from the year 1952, according to James Gandolfini.
Starring Takashi Shimura, and of course directed by Akira Kurosawa. Not a Mifune film, but nonetheless an
important movie in the oeuvre.
As Roger
Kurosawa.
as Roger Ebert would say, a fucking banger.
A banger.
Banger.
4 stars.
4
banger.
stars, banger. Lots of thumbs up.
What's this movie about, George?
So this movie is about a disaffected and lowly bureaucrat by the name of Kanji Watanabe, who finds out that he's dying of stomach cancer. And if you want to, which apparently also is an opportunity for lots of chuckles if you follow Liam's tweets about farting and diarrhea. And basically what happens is once Watanabe finds out that he's dying of stomach cancer, spends the rest of the film trying to figure out what to do with his last days on Earth and his money. And and just kind of, there's no real plot, but he wanders through a whole bunch of different kind of situations trying to reclaim some kind of essence or kind of, again, figure out what his life's about. So at some point...
Isn't that the plot of life?
Ooh, deep. And it's
and
one
those
long
things
slow
include
fade
party.
to black.
He parties. Jesus. All right, podcast canceled.
So, God, I have to call my therapist again. I just spoke to him like 5 hours ago, and I have to call him back.
He
again.
likes this movie.
He's a
I
huge
think, as I
fan. Yeah,
recall.
he's gonna be glad that we're talking about it. So basically, yeah, at some point he goes to like a nightclub / bordello.
He for
parties
sure.
with this novelist. Obviously, he doesn't kind of get anything out of that. He then begins this weird kind of flirtation or association with one of his younger coworkers, who's a woman.
Much younger coworkers.
Yeah.
Creepily younger Squid-and-the-Whale vibes
Well,
coworkers.
we should talk about this too, because to what degree is he in any sort of way romantically attached to her, and to what degree is it a kind of like romantic attachment, but one that not even just because she's not gonna have fucking sex with him, but to what degree is it from his point of view also, or from our point of view, I guess the viewers, meant to think about it as asexual? Because I think
that's a good question. There's a tension
to it for sure. And at some point, obviously, the film clearly makes that clear. So anyway, at some point, she also kind of gives Watanabe this idea, which we get an inkling of very early in the film, of converting this swamp or this like cesspool in this neighborhood into a park, a playground for kids. And basically the last 45 minutes he dies with about 45 minutes left of this film. And the last 40 minutes is this really fucking interesting.
Yeah, totally different movie in some ways.
Where you basically get all of these other disaffected bureaucrats that worked with him talking about his life and what he did to make the playground an actuality.
This movie, as George said, was directed by Akira Kurosawa. It's produced by Sojiro Motoki. The screenplay was by Kurosawa, Shinobu Hashimoto, who he had worked with a lot. And this is the first film, I believe, that he collaborated with Hideo Agune, who was like kind of wrote action movies for a lot of his career. And then this movie sort of like brought him into the fold. In our friend Stuart Galbraith's book, there's a lot of talk about how he challenged Kurosawa as a writer in a way that nobody else really could. It sounds like Kurosawa in some ways was a bit of like, what's that term? Like an enfant terrible or whatever it is. Just like a real taskmaster.
Well,
the movie.
Oh, sorry. I just in Stewart's book, there's that great story about the Seven Samurai where he would kind of pick an actor during every production to kind of humiliate or to just kind of degrade. And I forgot the actor in the Seven Samurai, but the book is amazing in detailing just kind of the brutal takedowns that Kurosawa put this poor guy through during production.
Yeah, the guy, the guy who played Heihachi, who is like one of the nicest. I believe it was Heihachi, who's one of the nicest guys in the world. The cast of this movie is a who's who of Kurosawa dudes, with the exception of Mifune. But I thought we would just chat about a couple of them. Takashi Shimura as Kanjei Watanabe, like the main guy, our hero. Seiji Miyaguchi and Daisuke Kato play Yakuzas for a brief moment in the movie. And if you remember, Seiji Miyaguchi is the swordsman in Seven Samurai. He plays a really badass Yakuza in this. And his enforcer is played by Daisuke Kato, who's like one of the older, chattier, friendly figures in Seven Samurai. And Minoru Chiaki plays Noguchi, one of the sort of salarymen. This movie is something of a critique of the Japanese salaryman, the guy who shows up for his job, and he plays a big part as the sort of inexperienced samurai who dies earlier on in Seven Samurai. The film also stars Shinichi Himura as Kimura. Shinichi Himori as Kimura. Kimura is sort of the one salaryman who seems to learn a lesson from Watanabe's death and is in the final harrowing image of the movie. Also, Yunosuke Ito is the novelist, and he's a character I really want to talk about because after this movie, I was like, I want to do a season about this guy.
The character or the
Miki
actor?
Odagiri plays Toyo, the young woman that he becomes kind of obsessed with, and she's really, really good in this movie. George, did I forget anybody? No, George, what'd you think of this movie?
Oh, this film's amazing.
You a big fan?
It's interesting because about a half hour in, 45 minutes, and I didn't mean this, I wasn't thinking about this in any sort of kind of dismissive way. And I think we've talked about this before, but it felt very much like a Capra movie. I was like, I was like, this is Kurosawa's It's a Wonderful Life, but obviously channeled through a far more kind of cynical and more realistic lens. Yeah, just about kind of taking stock of your life and kind of thinking about your regrets or what it is that you spend your time doing or not doing, where you're like, oh, hey, maybe I should have gone outside a little bit more, gone to the park. Maybe I should have done a little bit less podcasting, a little bit less talking to a microphone, talking about movies.
Same.
And,
talking into the ether.
Yeah, and you just kind of really kind of take stock of your life and you're like, what the fuck am I doing with my time?
Me too, but I realized I was doing great.
But I love this film.
It's interesting that you bring up Capra because there's lots when this film came out. So very briefly, in 1956, this film was shown in California. Do you know under what title?
The guy who had stomach cancer.
Doom.
What?
This movie was briefly called, for American audiences, Doomed.
That is such a shitty title.
I mean, that's almost as good as Homer Simpson remembering the name Speed as the bus that couldn't slow down.
Well, I like my alternate
One of the
film
great
title
Simpsons tweets.
more as well.
Was that?
My alternate film title, the one I just said, The Man Who Was Dying of Stomach Cancer.
Yeah, the man with stomach cancer. But there were a lot of comparisons when this film came out to Bergman, which is something that our recent guest A.S. Hamra made. Is that there is in the let's say early to mid 50s period of Kurosawa, he was making these sort of like Bergman-esque with The Idiot interior kind of films. I feel like this film's. I really like this film. I found it a struggle to watch at home, as I have with a lot of these movies, and I was extremely exhausted when I watched it, but I really liked it. I think that if I'm honest, I think that the way this film is talked about does a real disservice to the movie itself. Well, it's just not nearly as sentimental or as like affirming as I think it's kind of sold to be, and I don't understand like why I just don't. I'm sort of surprised. It's a really dark movie.
Yeah, of course. It's about death. And
super dark. And I kind of thought it was a little lighter than that. Does that make sense?
You mean the expectations? You thought the
Yeah, my expectations were like, oh, look at that cute old guy feeling good about his life on a swing. That's what I thought we were getting.
Sad about that
scene, like a nice swing movie. So that's also interesting. Sorry, but 15 minutes into this movie, I was like, oh my God, I've never seen this movie. And I thought I had.
Do you remember what you might have confused it for?
I think I confused it with what's the other one where he plays the old guy and he has a daughter?
Do we see it?
Scandal.
Oh, Scandal. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
But I like this film. I think the structure's great. I think it has some of Kurosawa's most interesting, austere cinematic choices, which I'm really into. And I think the structure. I tend to think that the third act of the movie where we jump forward in time and then we're cutting back and forth between him as he's dying, feverishly trying to finish this park, and simultaneously watching the salarymen get drunk and talk about what role he played in the park, and is both amazing to watch and also feels a little bit something that we have that definitely paved the way for that kind of storytelling, but feels very dated now. Like, it's interesting to see something that you can tell was incredibly innovative and also feel like, oh, we've gotten better. Like, it weirdly reminded me of like the end of a Nolan movie where you have simultaneous timelines coming in like incredibly cinematic ways, and like you just feel like there's things in this movie both thematically and cinematically that like feel like they walked so future generations could fly.
I thought you were going to say it reminded you of a Nolan movie because there's that scene at the very end where it cuts and Watanabe is in Italy and he's sitting with Anne Hathaway and he's drinking his coffee, and
Michael Caine comes over and he's like, "Is that you, Master Watanabe?
Is that you?
Is that you?
Disaffected bureaucrat? Is that you? Kudos for the playground. Kudos."
Michael
Caine sucks. As sublime as my James Gandolfini is, my Michael Caine sucks.
What if at one point Watanabe turned to Michael Caine and he was like, "You never gave up on me," and Michael Caine was like, "Never," like he does in the Batman movies. Remember when he's like, "Never." And like you're like, woof, why didn't Christopher Nolan pull him aside and go like, hey, Michael, just say never. Just say never.
Tone it down. Never. I want the Caine at an 8, and you're giving me Caine at a 12.
You're giving me 14 Caines. You're giving me 14.
You're blowing out the fucking speakers, mate. Calm the fuck down.
Let's talk about Takashi Shimura.
He was only 21, by the way, when he filmed this.
Exactly. So born in 1905, died 1982. You know, it's interesting to think about a guy whose face I've stared at for many, many hours of my life. Over most of it, we were never on the planet at the same time.
I saw your note, too, and it said that never alive at the same time. I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah. He died in February of 1982, and I was born in December of 1982. Damn. We just missed each other. Two stars passing in the night. So yes, correct.
Would old Takashi, and he died fairly young. What would old Takashi Shimura have said to baby Liam?
I don't want to do an impression here because it might be a
You
little
don't have to do an impression. Just say.
Let's cut
It would
that
have just
out.
been like,
He'd probably be like, hey,
work on the Michael Caine. Hey, Liam.
You never gave up on me, and I'll be like,
there
never.
you go. Yeah.
He died in 1982. We joke about this, but he was only 47 when he played this part, and he's got to be supposed to be 70, right? He's like an old man. Maybe in his 60s?
Yeah, maybe in his 60s.
Okay.
But yes, much older.
He was born in Osaka. He was like really into English literature. He was like apparently great at speaking English.
Oh.
And he started a theater company and worked at a waterworks and then ended up working in radio plays. He did a theater before he was in any Kurosawa movies, before he was in over 100 Japanese films.
Before he was even in one...
Before. He was,
Good God.
he was in over 200 movies.
I just imagine his days just walking from like set to set to like...
Yeah, what old man am I playing today?
He's like, yeah, where am I heading? Oh, over there. Okay, yeah, all right. I'll be there in a couple of minutes.
Do you want me to just put on a different wig?
Sure.
He was arrested for associations with some left-wing theater groups, and also, I mean, I think there was quite a crackdown in the 30s and 40s, and also was descendant of samurai.
Mm.
And Kurosawa referred to him as a good uncle, which I think is an interesting thing to talk about because this guy really has the like paternal dad thing down, but from like a multitude of angles. Like in Seven Samurai, he's kind of like sweet, caring, but harsh kind of samurai figure. And then in this film, he's kind of like a well-meaning, but ultimately kind of bad dad.
Yeah.
On some level. I don't know. He really like covered the gamut of dads.
Is he a bad dad in this?
The dad
I mean,
gamut.
he's just kind of beaten down by like his job and by bureaucracy and by life.
Well, there's a really, really great flashback sequence in like 20, 30 minutes into where he like, you see his son, you see him driving with his son and his wife's funeral, which is like devastating. And then you see the son get his appendix out, and the son's like, can you stay for the surgery? And he's like, I have some things to do. And you're like, motherfucker,
you're
what?
Right, yeah. That scene though with the child, where they go is like where's mom going? Like we have to catch up to her. Is like fucking heartbreaking.
Oh, it's
so brutal. Yeah, I guess you're right. He's a bit of a shitty dad.
Like it's not that he's a bad dad, but I think that one of the things this movie is about like the meaningless of work. The sort of like people working in dead end jobs and the lack of actual meaning that brings
for sure.
To
yeah,
life.
There's that great shot at the end where there's the new person in his position, and he puts his like head down, and the camera like zooms down, and he's surrounded by the piles of paper. It kind of reminded me of like that scene towards the end of Brazil where De Niro's character is swallowed up by all that paper.
Oh yeah.
And like the bureaucracy.
For sure. I feel like this movie has a lot of interesting comment, like very, very feels like still very, very timely. I wrote in the notes here, Ikiru walks so
reading.
David Graeber could...
You were reading. We get it. You know how to read. No, seriously, adult illiteracy is a very serious problem, and we shouldn't make light of it.
It actually is, and we shouldn't joke about it, you fucker. David Graeber, who the recently passed away academic who wrote Bullshit Jobs, which is a book that might as well have been inspired by Ikiru because it's kind of about the jobs that we've invented in post World War II America and obviously across the world. The book is a study of the ways that we've created this meaningless jobs. And I think this movie is right on about
Have you read that Graeber book?
I'm reading it now.
Yeah, I want to read it.
Between reading that and I'm also reading in case you want to know how great I am with white boy shit, I'm also reading Glenn Kenny's book, good book about Goodfellas, and this new book about Kid A, the Radiohead.
Oh, nice.
The Radiohead.
Because it's like the 20-year anniversary,
someone
right?
Sent it to me. The book is about sort of like what that album has to say about the 21st century.
Just quickly, just quickly, an interesting critique of the Graeber book, and I should read it, but to consider the degree to which all jobs, of course, are bullshit, at least all jobs under capitalism. 2 is the Goodfellas book called What the Fuck Is So Funny About Me? And 3, what's the title of the Radiohead book?
Oh my God. Hey guys, are you really enjoying this?
Oh come on, it's just organic.
The name of
Radiohead book. Yeah.
The name of the Goodfellas book is Made Men, and it's by Glenn Kenny. And will Glenn Kenny, shout out, great book. Maybe we should see it. Maybe he wants to come on the podcast. He won't. And the name of the Radiohead book is This Isn't Happening.
Uh-huh.
And it's by Stephen Hayden. Who seems like a really cool music critic.
I'm really pissed. I'm still pissed that Nick Hornby, who wrote a very negative review of Kid A back in the New Yorker when the album came out, completely fucking missed the boat on it.
Well, okay, I'm going to take this isn't what this is about, but I'm going to take issue with that because when Kid A came out, I don't think anybody knew what to do with it. And that's like, I understand if the first time you heard Kid A, you were like, fuck this. Like, what is this? No one listened to Kid A the first time and was 100% like, yep, 100%. I love that part when it's like, everything, but like, no one was...
I thought you would at least say the second track. It's like, do, 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 do.
We've got her downstairs. Yeah.
Well,
I think this idea that we have to, in retrospect, love everything because we've recognized it's inherent. It's a review.
There's no way. Just very quickly, there's no way going back that album wasn't on a whole bunch of top 10 lists.
It was on a bunch of top 10 lists, but I think the initial reaction was like,
yeah, sure. That like, okay, this is weird.
They were a guitar band who were like, right, guys, let's do something really different. I'm really sad.
I'm really sad. There's this one interview with Tom York where they were like, how did you feel after listening to Kid A? And he was like, I listened to it in the car all the way through for the first time and I sat in the back weeping. It was like, and they were like, okay, great. Thank you, Tom.
Connecting this back to Ikiru and David Graeber, I think that this movie is as much a critique of like the post-World War II order that's been established and the way it dehumanizes
It's also very Kafka-esque with its critique of bureaucracy. Not obviously as absurd, but it's all over.
Yeah, and I think that, there's something about this movie. There's a couple things this movie does really well, is that it's about sort of like bureaucracy. It's kind of about like the meaningless of like these jobs. I think increasingly when you look at the modern I should say the Kurosawa films that take place in contemporary 1940s, 1950s Japan, they all seem to be about either young figures trying to figure out their place in the world and older figures like figuring out what their graceful exit is. Like I Live in Fear being about a father wanting to take care of his family in a post-nuclear age. Stray Dog being about like a young anxious man who like fucks up in this new world order by losing his gun and everyone around him being like, you only have so much control. And that movie's kind of about the way that we treat criminals, quote unquote criminals. Whereas this film feels like it's kind of about like our relationship to our work and how so many people go through life zombified.
Yeah. Or the term used here, mummy, that he's mummified.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So there's a couple young, it's kind of clear that, the argument is that Watanabe has lost early on in his life, had career plans, and he wanted to do good work in the city planning, but the loss of his wife and the fact that he didn't advance in his career, it seems like, have made him kind of, disaffected and disillusioned and unable to do the work. And there's I feel like there's two young figures in the film to talk about really quickly. One is his son and his son's wife, who are these like kind of shitty, petty, bougie people. Would you say?
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Tokyo Story, actually.
Oh, talk more about that.
Well, just in the fact that the younger generation, to a certain degree, is really checked out and does not really care about what happens to their parents or their grandparents or whatever the case might be. In Tokyo Story, obviously, it's again the parents. And yeah, there's this kind of divide. And I think what's great, though, about it is, like what you were saying earlier, is that the film doesn't let the older generation off the hook, in the sense, like,
right.
Again, Watanabe could have been a better dad in certain respects, even though the son is clearly also really kind of shitty and doesn't like listen to his dad when his dad tries to tell him that he's sick, or kind of dismisses his illness. And because at some point he's like, oh yeah, like we know you're dying, and what we really need to figure out is what's going to happen with your money after you die. Yeah,
he's obsessed with his retirement, and he's also ashamed that his his father spends time with Toyo, played by Miki Odagiri. So she's another figure that I think is really interesting to talk about because she's probably like 21.
The character,
and he's obsessed with her. Yeah. She's young. She's worked in the office for a year and a half, and like she's kind of like the figure in the story who's like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah.
With your lives. She's the only female figure in that environment, which is really interesting.
And we find that
and
she has this hobby, right? That she makes those little bunnies.
Yeah, she makes that becomes her job, doesn't it?
Later, yeah. But I'm saying like initially isn't it just like a hobby? She says like, oh, I do this. Oh, she quits, right? Yeah, she says that she wants to quit.
Yeah, she quits the office to go work at a toy factory to make toys for kids. And like she's working all the time and she's super tired, but she has that beautiful line where she's like, I feel like I'm becoming friends with all the kids I make rabbits for. And here is where I feel like the film's kind of dialectical.
Ding.
Reading comes into play, where you have these people who are doing these jobs where essentially they look at a piece of paper and they stamp it or they pass it to someone else, and they're just like collecting pieces of paper, and they're all unhappy, but they don't want to admit it because they think they're important and they're all in denial, versus like the person who works really hard making things. And I feel like it's an interesting read of the movie as being like a material, like a take on like what you do with your hands and your body.
Yeah.
If it brings joy to others, it brings joy to you.
Huh. Yeah.
Especially in the practical application of I'm making a thing, and she's able to make the connection between her labor and the value it brings to the world that I don't think they are.
Right. That she's able to. Right. And obviously setting aside the fact that she's making commodities, but yes, she's able to see through it, or she's able to. Yeah. It's a dream of labor that's not alienated.
What? Yeah, okay, that's a great way to put it. But also, like, yeah, commodities, but also, like, this is interesting, because it's not like, I don't think all commodities are bad, right? Inevitably, that's ridiculous. But it is interesting that it is within this, like, company that mass produces toys for children. And that kind of, like, leisure class that was evolving all over the world post-World War II. And, like, people suddenly had time to do things. And so it's interesting in the sense that, like, these petty bureaucrats like spend their days doing nothing, and then they go home and they're able to buy these things that their kids love that bring their kids joy, but they have no joy in their lives. But this young woman has joy because she makes this thing. So there's an interesting tension between the idea of like she's mass producing something, but she cares very, very deeply about what she's making. And I don't know if that's naive on her part. I certainly don't think the movie portrays her as naive, but naive in like an almost appreciable. What am I looking for here? Like her naivete does not get in the way of an earnest happiness.
Yes, sure. And I think I would say, if this makes sense, I would say that there's not every commodity is bad, but perhaps the commodity form is bad. So I don't want to get
what do you mean?
Well, just because, again, it's kind of like the idea, let's say that, yes, there's a certain kind of sense by which just because something is a commodity does not necessarily mean that the joy that's derived from it is bad or is less than meaningful or that it's not authentic. I mean, even just kind of thinking about like the sense that we're, these films, we're watching them via like our very bougie streaming services through like our very curated.
Oh, I watched mine on a 16 millimeter film print, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Through like our art house streaming channels, like that's like obviously a form of consumption and whatnot.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean like the experience of the film or the experience of it as a kind of work of art is any less, again, authentic or meaningful. But I would just say, listen, these are much larger fucking questions. But yes, I do think there is an interesting question to be raised, though, about like, well, isn't, let's say, the playground a much more meaningful form of labor because it is not commodifiable? It's something that's there strictly for the joy and the pleasure of these kids.
And it is not something that can be sold and repurposed in its get ready for it, in its essence.
Oh, deep.
Ooh. Someone give me a job. So that's interesting from a couple perspectives because, like, I mean, speaking like as annoyingly, but like I didn't really care about playgrounds from age like 14 until age 35 when I had a kid, and now that we can't go on, like the fact that there were the kids being on a playground for me was so emotional in this movie because my kid hasn't been able to be on a playground since, I mean, beyond like a couple times, and she's actually we've been flouting the rules because they thought it was fine to reopen bars in this fucking state instead of playgrounds. Talk about commodities, commodifying things. But you're right in that maybe there's something to be said about his inspiration to focus on building a playground no matter what until his dying day is driven by seeing her finding joy in creating a commodity. And by seeing her create this thing, he uses the potential and the power that he has to make something that is truly like a public space.
It's a commons.
And a space for like public good.
Yeah, it's a commons.
Right.
Right. It's something,
sure.
Again, it's a democratizing space. It's available to all. And it's open to all. And there's something, again, this kind of sense of like and this is where it becomes a bit Capra-esque about bringing joy to the innocent or to the, I mean, not the weak, but the,
well, it's an equalizer. It brings all sorts of different types of people together. That's what's amazing about a playground,
but
right?
the sense of also like particularly bringing joy to kids.
Right. Well, I think also one thing that we haven't said is that this is, well, we've said it, but we haven't brought it into this, is that this is another one of these examples of the way Kurosawa seems sort of obsessed with surfaces, especially as they and places as they relate to like post-World War II Japanese recovery, in the sense that like it's like an area with toxic waste. It almost could be the same place as Drunken Angel. Yeah,
which is exactly what I was thinking too. Yeah.
And that was very resonant. Like I hadn't thought about that at all. Like, oh, this is a little bit of a there's a little bit of a callback to the kind of degradation, and again of a character played by Shimura who's of advanced years with something wrong with him, which is interesting. It's interesting that this movie opens with a shot of an X-ray of his interiors. It made me think of two things. One, it made me think of this film Metabolism, or When Evening Falls in Bucharest, which is a great Cornelio Porramboy film, the guy who made Police Adjective and made The Whistlers, he's one of my favorite. I love him. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. And Uncut Gems, because Uncut Gems opens with a colonoscopy. And these are both kind of movies about like moral and, to some extent, like moral and spiritual rot, and like for better or for worse, being addicted to your job.
Yeah, or your hobby of gambling.
Well, yeah, but in a way he's like addicted to in the way that like in the beginning of the film Shimura is addicted to the monotony, so he doesn't have to deal with any other aspect of his life. I think Adam Sandler's Howie is addicted to not addicted to like being in debt and having problems and having an addictive personality.
The highs of gambling, for sure.
Love it.
But yeah, no, that's a great point. Oh, that's the other thing also that reminded me, of course, of It's a Wonderful Life, the voiceover that begins. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The very literary voiceover that begins the film and fades away.
Speaking of literary, by the way, have you read the novella that this is based on?
Oh, you can read. Oh.
Now who's showing off?
Look at you reading books.
Oh, look at you, big fucking guy reading. James.
You like books?
James,
oh,
please.
Cool. Egghead over here. Why did I turn
James, I thought you were on my side. Big fucking deal, you academic piece of shit.
That's very weird that you like to read Lars.
We're doing all the greatest hits.
Hello. Oh my God, they're all back.
Marty.
They're all
Marty.
back. Marty. Lars.
Marty, what are you up to? Hating Marvel films again, I see. Excellent.
I want to make a movie.
The Tolstoy novella, have you read it? The Death of Ivan...
No, The Death of Ivan Ilyich. No, is it good?
It's amazing. But it's been a while since I've read it. But I was also...
Oh, you can...
It's a little callback. Yeah, it was like another, again, this other reference to Kurosawa's, again, fascination with Russian literature, which I found
Yeah, he loves Russian literature. I believe it was when our last episode did. He has this unique ability, like we've talked about, sort of a thematic connection of all the, is that he has an ability to make thought really visual.
Yeah.
There is a great moment in this film, and I think this can lead into our next bit of conversation, where he meets a novelist played by...
So clearly he lives in Brooklyn.
Yunosuke Ito. So yeah, he's clearly...
Takes place in downtown Brooklyn. Park Slope.
Bushwick.
Yeah.
So he... and they go out partying all night and they get wasted, which I don't think you should drink when you have stomach cancer. Little PSA, friends. Don't drink when you have stomach cancer. But there's a moment where he gets out of the car to throw up or to pee or to do something, and the novelist follows him, and they make eye contact for what feels like a minute. And it's such an open moment because you're like, the movie doesn't tell you what to think in that moment. There's no like phoning in a feeling. It's just a shared connection. And I read it as ultimately this kind of partying isn't going to bring any meaning to your life.
For sure, yeah.
So, but that, I just found that moment that's so cinematic. Like Kurosawa is able to do really cinematic things, like the tracking shots of him walking down the street and he stops at the edge of the road and all of a sudden you hear the trucks and it's like this great moment of interiority suddenly becoming like real world. Like there's so many really amazing cinematic, quietly powerful cinematic. All the cuts, the way it cuts from present to the past to 5 months ago without any warning is like really, really incredible.
What about also that one scene where the young woman runs out in the street and the two cars whiz by her? And it looks like there's literally like a foot between each car on each side. Do you remember this? This is when he buys her the stockings.
Oh, yeah. When he buys her the stockings,
and I was
right.
like, holy fucking shit. Like, that's crazy.
Well, they did that in a Marvel green screen studio in Atlanta.
Right.
So, yeah, like there's the leftovers of the Endgame set.
Oh, that's why Thanos...
the Endgame sets. Like, there's a set.
I was wondering why Thanos was driving one of those cars. I was like, that's weird.
He was like, I am inevitable. And everyone was like, ugh, we know. We get it.
Damn it.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, how do you pull that stuff off? But again, he's at a point in his career where he's like, we're going to fucking almost hit someone with a car. I don't care. Fuck it. Let's do it. Yeah, the cinematic potential of this movie is really great. Because this season is about Akira Kurosawa and Toshiro Mifune, I have a question to put to you. What part, if he were in the film, what part should Mifune play?
Oh, easy. He would play the novelist.
Yes!
Yeah, of course.
It'd be so good.
So,
I mean, I love this actor. I think he's great. And Mifune might be too Mifune. You'd be like, oh, it's Mifune. But like, I would love to see him play that part.
Why do you think he's a novelist? I have my thoughts.
I wonder too. I mean, I'd like to hear what you think.
I think it's a critique. It's a critique of kind of intellectualism, or of a certain kind of intellectualism when it's faced with the grim reality of death, realizes that it's, think as much as you can, intellectualize as much as you can, rationalize as much as you can. When you are actually faced with that grim inevitability, you can't do anything about it. You can't like just rationalize it or fictionalize it away. Cool. It's raining. It's raining here in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a really good reading of it. I think the other reading is that I wonder if there's a little bit of... Is there a little bit potentially, maybe, and I think that this is me totally projecting, but is there a little bit of like a statement about regret in that figure, in the sense that Kurosawa was originally a painter.
Uh-huh.
He's obsessed with novels. He sort of was at times in his life wanting to be something of an independent artist. And he's become this, I mean, like you just said, he does a set. I mean, he's an amazing, astonishing filmmaker, but like when you make films, you're sort of, you are caught up a little bit in like a bureaucracy. You have to manage all these people. You have to do all this stuff. And he's sitting in a izakaya, drinking, and he meets this novelist, and this novelist has freedom. And he says like, show me how to live. And like, you have to wonder if, I mean, Akira Kurosawa is probably 42 when this film is made, and like just at the height of his powers. And you just got to wonder if maybe I don't know if it's intentional, but there's a little bit of like missing the independence perhaps that kind of life could afford you. And then realizing that like nothing really, everything is filled with regret.
Right. I mean, yeah, maybe.
I mean, maybe not. I just am sort of reaching.
I have a hard time also believing that if you're Akira Kurosawa, you're 42, you've done, like, don't you think, like, not in a kind of, I can't imagine Kurosawa just being a dick.
Sad?
No, I can imagine him being sad, but also having a bit of swag and just being like, yeah, I'm fucking Akira Kurosawa. Like, I've made Rashomon. Like, yeah. I'm internationally renowned.
But this is a guy whose brother killed himself, who's, was like, who later tried to commit suicide. I mean, we're psychologizing a little bit, but like, I just wonder if maybe there at least the impetus is like, oh, look at the way this guy gets to live, and ultimately the way he lives is empty.
So maybe a nostalgia for a life one has not lived, to kind of quote Fernando Pessoa.
I mean, like he's out at night. He probably hasn't been out night drinking in 30 years.
Kurosawa, you mean?
Because he's been taking care of his son, and this guy is like, I mean, it's so romantic. He's like sitting in a bar. He finishes like a thing, and he's like, "Hey," says to the bartender or whoever, like, "Bring this over to, like, the public, to the newspaper or something like that, or something." It's like the guy like makes a living writing fiction. It's maybe it's not romantic, but it has the potential.
I think it's also an allusion to the novella that it's based on. And now that I think about it, I should go back and just quickly look at it, because I wonder if there's a writer. So one of the interesting things also, just very quickly, about the novella is that there's this. Ivan Illich is dying.
Okay, I get it. You know what a novella is. Yeah. Jesus.
Again, it's a novella, please, not a novel. Don't misconstrue.
It's a novella.
So in the novella, the guy's dying, and there's one person, I believe his name is Peter, who's like this farmer. He's this peasant. And he's the one in the story who's able to take care of the dying Ilyich, because he has a certain kind of like proximity to the intensity of life, and he's able to kind of like face the grim realities of death in a way that the other people around Ilyich's life are not able to. And like that's a kind of like Tolstoy's, I think, critique of a certain kind of, again, like bourgeois intellectualism that is not able to confront the grim aspects of life and of reality, but like this hardworking peasant can. So I wonder, like, if the novelist is like, at some degree, a kind of commentary on that.
But the movie doesn't really have.
It doesn't have that other character, right? It doesn't have the character who takes care of him while he's dying. Yes.
What I suppose it does have is the young woman who like teaches him maybe to not take everything. Well, I don't know. There's no one in the movie who's like, don't take everything so seriously. But he's dying, so how else do you?
Or just like, but I just imagine like the way you said, like, oh yeah, she doesn't like take things too seriously, and he's like, listen, I have to tell you something. I'm dying, and she's like, I'm dying too. To get out of here and go get some dinner. It's like, come on, huh? And he's like, no, seriously, I'm dying.
No, really, I'm dying. I'm dying. It's not good. I have to tell you that I'm dying. That's a pretty great movie.
Yeah, it is.
That's kind of what I have to say. There's a lot we can talk about.
We haven't recorded the episode yet, but just a little teaser. I was thinking a lot about I Live in Fear while watching this, and thinking about the way in which this does a lot of things that I feel like that film kind of fails to do.
Like what? I like that movie a lot.
I liked it too, but I feel like at some points it's a little bit like too melodramatic. I do need to go back and watch it again, but I feel like this film, and I think because of Shimura, of course, blends, like, again, it's not, as you were saying earlier, it's not at all sentimental. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Shimura does such a great job. Did you, on Wikipedia, there was this fact, I don't know if it's accurate, but apparently they were going to try to
5 fast facts about Ikiru.
They were going to try to remake this with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
And I'm like, good God. Like, that would have been, can you imagine like a Robert Zemeckis, Tom Hanks version of this film? It would suck.
Okay, here's the thing. I think it would suck in 2003. I think if they made it now, he could do it. Because I think he's gained a little bit of this, like, I don't know how you feel, but like, I think Bridge of Spies, the movie he made with Spielberg a couple years ago, is like a fucking mwah. It's like so good. And I think he does more interesting things now than he did in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's been a while, I think, since I've seen the Tom Hanks movie, but
well, he's the next season of the podcast, so we'll cover it. Wait, what? No, absolutely not. But like, I mean, in 2000, just real quick, in 2000, list of Tom Hanks performances. 2000, he made Castaway. Ugh. Road to Perdition's a pretty good movie. That has a little bit of a Kurosawa kind of feel to it.
I haven't seen it.
Road to Perdition.
Paul Newman, right?
Oh, get out of here. The Nooms.
Nooms.
Yeah, he made some stuff that probably wasn't amazing.
The Nooms is just eating eggs with George Kennedy.
But I think now he's become a little more like Bridge of Spies. Like, it's not a great movie, but he's good in Sully. I think he's like a little more able to do the stuff he's doing is a little more nuanced. But then again, I don't know. He made Philadelphia. It's not like he's a slouch when it comes to real dramas.
No, he's a fucking great actor. But I mean, I think he.
Why do you hate Tom Hanks?
I fucking hate him. Me too. I fucking hate that guy.
But I think. But is he a good Shimura sort of?
No.
Okay, cool. Good talk.
He's not.
So if they were going to remake this movie, who would they remake it with? Who would be your English language?
Of course.
Ray Liotta.
Timothy Chalamet. Chalamet. Chalamet.
Chalamet. Chalamet.
Yeah, that guy.
Who?
Yeah,
Timothy
of course.
Chalamet?
Yeah.
No.
No, that's a good question.
I wonder
who
who
the American equivalent be.
Not American, but the guy from Sound of Music,
Christopher Plummer, who played Tolstoy in The Last Station.
Oh, is that good?
No, not really. It's not.
No, it's not
good.
Bring
it all the way back.
I mean, like, I could see Christopher Plummer. I could see Hopkins doing a kind of version of it. That might be kind of interesting. Especially the scene when he's like, a woman tried to get a park made, and I ate her liver with some fava beans. And then
I just imagine.
Wow, that's a good joke. I'm a hack. I'm a fucking
But now I also
hack.
imagine Trent, like, it's the film we were kind of gesturing to earlier, where it takes place in like Bushwick, Brooklyn, where there's this disaffected like bureaucrat, and he sounds like Anthony Hopkins for some reason, and he's like just walking around Brooklyn. It's like, why the fuck do you have that accent?
Oh, you know who would be great? Jonathan Pryce.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, he'd be a real good. He's got a little edge.
Robert
Shimura doesn't
Redford.
have the same level of edge. And Robert Redford. Robert Redford. That'd be interesting. Sacha Baron Cohen.
Of course.
My son. All right, we have to wrap this up. This is no good. It's going too far. This is a great movie. I do think I need to watch it again because it's a lot. It's very sad. It's very dense. And I don't really think the movie gets the kind of... I don't think it's like talked about sometimes in the right ways. I don't mean that like... I'm sure that critics and writers have done it, but I feel like the marketing of it is off from what the movie is about.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. Quickly, top 3 Radiohead albums.
Hail to the Thief.
Whoa. Number 1?
I'm just listing 3 Radiohead records. Hail to the Thief, the Ben's OK Computer.
Okay. I would say OK Computer, the Ben's.
Nice.
And then I would say, Hail to the Thief.
You know why I like Hail to the Thief more than Kid A and I love Amnesiac and Kid A. I think they're both really good. Such
In
white boy
Rainbows
shit,
is great too, now that I think about it.
It's fine. It's fine. But I think Hail to the Thief is a nice balance between like boop boop bleep bleep bloop bleep bloop 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 and like the guitar
Some of the
shit.
bleep bloop bleep bleeps,
I like that mix.
Have not to my ear aged very well.
Which
Some
ones?
of the bleep 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 bleeps.
Just a real quick story, and then we'll wrap it up. I saw them. I saw them a long time ago, but I saw them in support of Hail to the Thief, and they opened with 2 + 2 = 5, and it was amazing because that song rocks. But they immediately went into Creep.
Whoa.
Which they hadn't played live in years, and they had to restart the song twice because Tom York was laughing so hard while he was like, he couldn't get through it, and he was like, sorry, let's do it again. And like I think they finally got through it, but like he was laughing really hard while he was singing it, which was like kind of obnoxious because that song fucking rules. But it's good. Have you seen them live?
I have twice. I'm gonna say at least twice, maybe 3, but definitely twice. For OK Computer.
Every time I try to see them live now, the tickets are sold out.
It's impossible. It's ridiculous. Remember in the good old days, you had to actually like wait in line like a true fucking fan to get tickets.
Yes, those were the days.
Those were the days.
All right. Well, I think we see this movie. Next up on the show, I'm not 100% sure when we're going to release this, but Blake Howard's coming to talk about Seven Samurai, and we have a few other guests, but we haven't recorded yet, so I don't know if I want to drop them.
But yeah, just They Live in Fear and Throne of Blood's coming up. I can't fucking wait.
Throne of Blood. Yeah, there's a lot of... Yeah, woof, we got a lot to do. That's it. Patreon this month will be an episode on Ben Affleck. I've got to edit that one. Oh, well, that might have already happened. I got to figure out when we're releasing this stuff. Subscribe to our Patreon. We have an episode about The Dirty Dozen. We have an episode about...
We have some
Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Some fine words by me.
Some fine writing. What's the theme of the next one?
I haven't decided yet, but I think I might write about Ben Affleck and that Sum of All Fears film that I saw, which was really just weird watching that film today.
You love that movie.
I fucking loved that movie.
If you haven't heard it yet, we released an episode with A.S. Hamra, who wrote The Earth Dies Dreaming and is the critic for The Baffler, and I think that's a pretty enjoyable, fun episode of a movie that not many people have seen that I think is really, really something, which is The Idiot from 1954. It's a couple years after this one.
Great film.
Cool. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the show on Apple. Well, listen wherever, but some subscriptions, a little rate, a little review wherever you can, particularly
Sprinkle
Apple
those
Podcasts.
reviews.
Very helpful. Sprinkle those reviews, a nice little dose of them. I was Liam Billingham.
I might still be George Frigopoulos.
James, do you want to...
Oh, I'm okay. But really, James?
I'm okay, too. I'm
all right,
okay,
Lars.
fine.
Marty,
all right,
Marty,
Lars.
are you...
All right. Hello! This
Marty,
was...
why the fuck do you only say one thing?
This is Oeuvre Busters!
Yay! Yes, he said more than one thing! Thank you, Marty.
Thanks, Marty.